kinder, gentler gospel, right? Lots of good news and excitement. Think only if you're a 7-year-old boy, where it's exciting that you would cut off something and run out into the world to conquer it. At least that's what happens at our house. They just get excited about sword fights and that kind of stuff. But here we are. In the midst of all of this traveling towards Jerusalem, Jesus has paused. And Jesus is holding a child. And here comes John to tattle on somebody. Comes running in to tell that someone is doing something they're not supposed to. But he doesn't get the answer he's expecting, does he? He expects Jesus to be indignant and upset, and instead Jesus says, "Great. Don't stop them, because if they're doing something in my name, then they can't curse me later. If they're able to perform miracles, and it happens because they use my name, then they won't be against us later." Pretty profound. But he doesn't stop there. He doesn't say that and then all of a sudden we move on. He then looks inward at the disciples. Mark does this a lot. Mark spends a lot of time with us looking back at our own community. And here's why. Because we are not broken apart from the outside. When Jesus talks about stumbling blocks, it's because he knows that they're coming from inside the community. So what are ours? What's the stumbling block that we put out there that gets in the way of everybody else? What do we do that causes our own faith to be about who gets ahead and who doesn't? Here's mine. I know that my tongue can be a very efficient and effective weapon. And I struggle a lot with making sure that what I say matches what I do, and that what I say doesn't cause other people to think less of someone else. Because when I am frustrated, it will explode out of me in a way that's not helpful to anybody. I imagine that I'm probably not the only one who has this problem. But what I've learned is that when I do that, it affects how my children understand other people when they meet them. It affects how my children understand what the church is, what this community is, and it also affects how they understand who God is. Huge, major stumbling block. It also affects how they see our marriage. So that's my big struggle, personally. That's my big stumbling block that I throw in front of other people. What about you guys? Don't feel like you need to tell me right now. But where the tongue is a divisive organ. He talks about it a lot. We also know in Numbers that it was the whispering at the tent flaps that caused the community to start to fall apart. You see, when we start to complain, we start to sow seeds of dissension, things start to crumble. And for Mark's community, it has never been more important. The reason that Mark highlights this interaction between the disciples and Jesus is this. Mark's community is in Jerusalem, and they are being attacked by all sides. They're small, and what is happening is the other Christian community just across the way is also attacking. So instead of forming a united front against those that are attacking them, they are sowing dissension and falling apart from the inside. Because that group over there doesn't worship the way this group over here does. This group over here kneels and this group stands. Sound familiar? We haven't learned much. That's why it's so important for us to hear this painful reading. To be reminded that we are our own worst enemy. Point of interest, when Jesus talks about cutting off hands or feet or plucking out eyes, this is a much bigger deal for Jews. Because they believe that when God resurrects everyone, we will be resurrected exactly how you were buried. It's a decision that's permanent. And not just in one life, but in the afterlife as well. Jesus uses this exaggeration to get their attention. To shake them to the core and to remind them to be careful of what they do and what they say. When we get readings like this, sometimes I sit there and I go, okay, where's the good news? Did anybody feel like that when they were listening to me? Okay, enough already. Where's the good stuff? Did you hear the end where he talks about salt? And I talked to the kids a little bit about what salt does. Both salt and fire purify. They also add a little spice to your life. That's not a bad thing. And so what God is calling them to do is to share that seasoning with the whole world. When I was in high school, there was a big push to do random acts of kindness. You all remember this? And we made a lot of fun about it. Because really, that person getting 50 cents to buy a Coke, what do they care? They could have found 50 cents on the floor. By the way, we did all this while we were wearing our WWJD bracelets. So this is exactly what this gospel is addressing. The fact of the matter is that there are people in this world who have never experienced what it is to get a gift for free. And our entire being and our entire faith is based on the fact that God gave up everything and nothing our own pockets. Everything we know about who God is because he gave us this gift for nothing. Sacrificed his own life and his son, rose from the dead so that we didn't have to do things like cut off our hands and our feet and tear out our eyes. That's the good news. And that's why we do things like share what we have for no reason than the fact that we see someone in front of us. That we require nothing of them except that we see another human in front of us. And someone who is created in God's image. That's it. They don't need to prove to us they need it. It's a gift. And it can be time, it can be a word of kindness, it can be anything. But for some people, that is the only glimpse they get of the God we know so well. So here we pay attention to our stumbling blocks so that we can go spread salt everywhere. It's a hard gospel to preach on, and it's a hard one to hear. But it is the crux of who we are. That we are loved, and that we are able to love because of it. If we could just stay out of our own way. Amen.
Amen.